It's the first episode of season 6, and of course, I have to start by muting myself because otherwise, how are we going to have a memorable moment, right? So, season 6 of Unleashed Leaders of Change has come after such a long time. I think it's been approximately 6 months. I haven't gone live, we haven't done the show, and finally, we are here. I'm excited for many reasons. We are all living in a world where we are told you need to behave in such a way, in a certain way at work, in business life, in career, and in a different way in personal life. You're somebody else at home, you're somebody else with your friends, you're somebody else at work, and you live kind of this multi-layered, multi-faceted, but not even faceted, multi faces. You just live more than one persona in your one life. You're serious, you're very behaved, you're a certain way at work, and you're fun, you're relaxed, you're upset at home. Something else is going on, and you can't bring that to work. One of the things that comes to my mind always is people say leave home, your problems at home and leave your work at work. Don't bring it home. But here's the question: you're the same person. How can you separate? Can you just switch off? Oh, I'm at home, so I don't need to think about work, even if something wrong is going on, something stressful is going on, something is driving me crazy. I don't have a happy team member, or I don't have a nice manager, or my projects are not working. Can I pretend that it's not happening? I can't. Same way, if I'm at work and something is going on at home, my dog is sick, my husband or wife is not well, I'm having a bad situation at home with my partner, something like that is happening. Can you really, really hide it? Can you really just turn off your switch and go, oh no, it's all good, I'm fine, I'm at work, so nothing. And people talk about compartmentalization. People talk about having these segments in their life. I can't do that. I've tried it. I'm a very direct person. I can't do that. I've tried to segment. I struggle with it. And that was last 6 months, me not going live because I was trying to be that business persona, but there was so much going on in my life that I wasn't ready for it. So, really, that's why today's guest is the perfect person to start the first episode of season 6 of Unleashed Leaders of Change. Because the one thing that she says is, it is all personal. It is literally all personal. Let me just quickly show you who it is. It's Roxana Radulesco. I'm sorry, Roxana. I know you're not gonna like how I said it, but hopefully I did it right. And as she says, it's all personal. Business is all personal. So if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Szebastian Onne. This is your babe, intention strategist. Get it right, get it done. You're live, and uh, this is all personal. I didn't prepare this. This is a perfect example, and this is what I was talking to Roxana about. I'm not gonna pretend anymore. I'm not gonna learn my scripts. I'm just gonna say as things come to my mind and as I think, because that's who I am. So once again, I'm gonna try this through the script. Hey, Piperazzo, this is your babe, Szebastian Onne G, is the Almost Naked CEO, and you'll get it right, get it done, intention strategist, an entrepreneur maker. And I'm here because I care, because I give a damn to help you dream big and make it happen intentionally. And that's my learned part. So let's quickly show you a little intro, and then I'll introduce you to Roxana. And please let me know where you're tuning in from. Bye. And here we are. Well, as I said, I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm not gonna pretend to be perfect, and it had to happen. It did. So, and I don't know how badly I butchered your last name, but I hope you'll
No,
forgive
you
me.
did. Come on. I told you. It's just I heard it in 10,000 different ways. So, yes, you did fine. Just fine.
Well, I'm hoping I came into first top 10 at least.
Yes, for sure.
There you go. First of all, I love your top. I love the colors.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful. Just like you. I love it.
Like I was so excited about this episode. So, yeah, bring it in
Look,
color,
this
color.
episode is very, very, very special because you and I have been waiting for this for so long and we needed to have this conversation. And what I love about your message is it's all personal, right? But before we go into that, people who don't know you, who are watching you on first time on Dreamaniac TV, who is Roxana?
Oh, Roxana is, I mean, it's me. Okay, I'm originally Romanian from Bucharest, which is a country in Eastern Europe, and moved to Canada with my family in 2017, which I can't believe it's already been 5 years. My background is learning and development. I did a lot of that back in my corporate days. And when we moved to Canada, I was thinking, okay, I didn't move across the ocean to do the same thing that I've always done. So that's when I also started my coaching and training and consulting business, which is called Surprise All Personal. Because yeah, I do believe it's all personal. Nothing is just business, and I'm really passionate about everything that has to do with human behavior, with communication, with teams, with how we can be better persons for ourselves and for each other.
I love that. But we live in a world where pretensions are so, I don't want to say important, but they're so prevalent, they're so common. Whether you talk about influencers on social media, whether you talk about leaders, you can't be friends with your bosses. Um, you have a different persona at work, you have a different persona at home. Uh, you might be upset and sad at home, but then you're happy with your friends. And yet we say, well, we need to maintain this, kind of persona, or this,
Mhm.
you need to be this person at work. And you can, as soon as you get out of work, you take your tie off and you're able to be a different person. I think that's a huge struggle and a huge negative in our life. How do you see that?
It's exhausting. That's what I can say. It's very hard to maintain it long term. And I think what we've seen, especially with the dreaded pandemic, I really think we see a lot of benefits that happened because of that. And one of them was that we started sharing more about who we are at home. I mean, you and I, we're sharing our own personal spaces right now.
Right.
We've never we've never visited each other, but we're sharing a little bit of personal space. This is part of my living room, which I'm sharing with the world. This is part of your office, which you're sharing with the world. And I think what we've seen is sharing a lot of those personal moments with kids, with pets, with oh, hold on, my fire alarm is going on, and all of those instances that we didn't get to see at work because work was the place where we took our work self and that was it, and we had to perform in a way that was accepted only there. And then when we got home, it's as if we were leaving the work self behind the desk and just coming back with the personal self. And I think we've all seen that it didn't quite work because it takes a toll, and because you actually come with a lot of work luggage from work, which really impacts the way that you relate with your family, with your friends. There's something on your mind that will impact your the way that you relate with them. So it's not. I think we've all felt it wasn't really working. And I think what the pandemic and the whole working from home, especially for those who work from home, you're not living for work anymore. Like work is home and home is work, and we're working with home, not from home. Like we've learned how to do that. And I think that's the shift that I've seen in the work with that I do now with teams, is that they started to realize, hey, I'm bringing a lot of personal into my work, and I can actually make it better. And this is why we see a lot of the great resignation that we all talk about.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
that's why, because people rediscovered, hey, there's more that I can do, that there's a different purpose. I've rediscovered, I'm not going to wait. What am I waiting for? That's part of the wake up call that I think we've seen, and I think we're
Absolutely.
getting there.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the great resignation itself, because everybody's
Mhm.
talking about it. It's happening everywhere. Everybody's with this pandemic and with everything that's changing so fast in the world. People are now realizing, first thing, we had no choice. We had to move to work from home. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't an option. Either you don't work or you work from home. And organizations, the most important thing, organizations had to actually accept that they're going to have to allow people to work outside the constant supervision, the micromanagement, and everything. And that meant now you'll be able to see, their child crying in the background, their puppies and kittens running in the background, not having the perfect setup for office, um, you know, 10 other challenges that come with working from home. Um, what do you think is the driving force behind great resignation right now? Why is, it's not a trend, of course. It's not a choice. Nobody wants to just leave up, you know, and walk away from earning. So why is this happening?
Well, maybe, I mean, I don't think it's a matter of walking away from earning. I think it's a matter of, earning with a purpose. And what does that mean for me? And again, I think that is part of it all being all personal, because a lot of people had these moments throughout the pandemic when they were thinking, okay, so what am I going to do? And what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with myself? So it's a matter of, it's a very personal decision that translates into the world of work, because work is not just work anymore. It's part of who am I? It's part of our identity more than it was before. It's not because the industrial age brought us a different kind of setting, right? We were going to initially to a factory, and we had to go there and be there and do repetitive work. And we're now working in the knowledge age, where it's not about going somewhere so that I'm able to work, so that I'm able to share my passion for what I do, the way that I do things. It's not about that anymore. It's the environment that matters a lot. It's who we work with that matters a lot. Is, do I believe in what we're doing? Do I identify with the goal and with the purpose? And do I really feel like I belong in this team, in this organization? And if I don't, I have choices. It's all a matter of how much choice do I have. And I've seen people maybe moving between corporations from one to another, but a lot of people that are going to work for themselves, to be self-employed, because they rediscovered some of the passions that they had, and they started maybe a side business initially and it turned into a business. So I think that the choices, and the fact that we have that conversation of work-life balance, which to me is more of like the work-home balance, because life is one and we have the
Right.
work in the home. So we're not dead at work anymore.
Right. And
Life is happens at work as well.
exactly, that's what I was thinking. Like, another thing is, we always talk about work life balance. We talk about, as I was saying in the beginning, leaving work at work and leaving home at home. But that's not really a choice. You can't really do that. And I want to bring one point here, including my own team. We've been working from home from last 13 years, maybe more, right? And we've been working in setups, and I know so many other little small businesses and organizations and teams that are working from home for such a long time. People used to make fun of them. People used to say, "Oh, you don't really have a job, or you're a freelancer." full-fledged teams, complete businesses running in multiple countries, teams working from multiple countries, working 24/7 operations. But that judgment was there. And this pandemic has kind of forced people to look at it another way and realize, well, no, that they have been in a serious job. Because the biggest irony for me is, Roxana, that these people now reach out to people like me and say, so how do you make this work? How does this work? Because you have so much experience in working from home. It makes me laugh, but it also makes me understand that, because at that time they had no exposure to this, they had no understanding of this, so they had that prejudgment or pre-notion about anybody working from home is not really working. So isn't this great resignation also about people realizing, hey, I've been duped by the companies all my life that I can only do this from an office location. I could have done this from home. I could have had my life. I could have been more with my kids. I maybe I didn't have to delay my marriage, or maybe I did not have to delay having children, and could have still worked, but I wasn't ever given a chance. And now people realize, oh crap, I could have done all of that, right?
Yeah, I could have done it. And it's also, again, I think it's also about realizing, hey, if this company doesn't align with what I believe in, or if my values don't align with that company's values, then okay, I have a way out. I don't have to stay in that same company, in that same role for the rest of my life. It's not a matter of, and this is why I love, especially the younger generations. Like I'm a Gen Xer, threshold with millennials. But what and again, we put all sorts of labels on generations. But one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I love millennials is because they brought the well-being conversation into the boardroom, and it wasn't there before them. And they brought the flexibility conversation in the workplace, and it wasn't there before. They
Because it
were,
was
a
seen
lot
more
of
as a
them,
fad, right?
exactly, and a lot of them were
Was seen as a
already
fad, and
working
it
virtually.
was like, it's just like a trendy thing. It's just like you're being, you're
Yeah.
just being lazy, or you just, young generation want things your way. But now people are realizing, no, it's not just a fad. It's not just a trend. It's a necessity for human life.
It is, because one of the things that I've seen happening, and I bet everybody watching has experienced this. I think we kind of thought about, what are my priorities? I think we really had this conversation with ourselves, and think, okay, maybe my priorities were not in the right order. So I think we reshuffled those, and it's just which reminds me, there's a scene and a quote from Harry Potter, for those of you who watched it, where Hermione was saying, oh, if we do this, we might we might get killed, or even worse, expelled. And then Harry is saying, oh, I think she's got her priorities wrong. And I think this is what's been going on with us as well. Maybe we started to realize, oh, okay, maybe this is not the right order of priorities for me anymore. And we realized that we don't have to choose between work or home, or having a home life and a work life. We realized that, well, actually it's possible to have both. And it's not just it's possible, it's healthier to have both, and it's more productive, and it makes us happier. And when we're happy, that just replicates, right? It's just like a
Absolutely.
wave,
I
the
think
ripple
it
effect.
is taking it is taking the stress away. And I think the biggest thing it's taking away from our lives is taking away the need to pretend something you're not, or something you cannot be, right?
Yeah.
Um, I want to just very quickly acknowledge a couple of comments. Pamela Hartnold says, great to have you back. Thank you, Pamela. I am excited to be back. And Roxana is the best person to start this season with. And I believe this is Cicely Simpson, because I can see on my LinkedIn, she says, love this discussion. And that's it. we're not having this dialogue. We are starting to realize now that work-life balance is not just a fad. It's not just a gimmick. It is all personal. So, talking about it is all personal. At what point in time did you realize, hang on, I don't need to live
Oh,
two lives. I
you're
don't
gonna
need to live
laugh.
two lives.
You're gonna laugh. I'm so happy that you asked me that. So, I have two kids who are now teens, right? One is 15, the other one is 18. But when they were little, we would watch cartoon movies.
Reminds me, there's a
And one of those was Monsters versus Aliens. And there's the famous line in that movie as well. We come in peace, and you're all gonna die. Nothing personal, just business. And I was laughing so hard at that scene, and I was thinking, hang on, actually, how often do we say that? Like, really? And how often do you hear that in movies? Like, there's a bunch of movies with that famous
Always,
line.
especially if it's like a legal drama or any kind, like, if it's a business rivalry. Nothing personal. Like they literally destroy each other, but it's nothing personal. And
Exactly. So,
it's
what
fun
do you
to bring that.
mean? You're destroying my life, and that's not personal. That's just, I mean, and then because of my background and the fact that I do love everything about communication and human behavior, I was thinking, well, actually, it is all personal because it's either intrapersonal, so how we manage the relationship with ourselves, or interpersonal, how we manage our relationships with others. And that's, if you think about business in general, this is what it all comes down to: how you manage the relationship with yourself, how you manage the relationships with others successfully long term. Because that's when you mean success, you mean long term. You don't mean overnight, you know, the overnight
Absolutely.
success that just vanishes the next day. That's not, at least that's not my definition of success, right?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is, we talk about the shows, but it's reality as well. If there's a team member you're not happy with, there's a boss you're not happy with, and then they just come and turn around and say, "Oh, it's not personal. It's nothing personal." Well, it is. I'm working with you every day, and you don't like something I'm doing, but you're not being nice about it. You're not coaching me. You're not helping me, or you're going and gossiping around. It is personal. If it is not personal, why would you gossip? You would also just deal with the fact what I can or cannot do. Either tell me how to fix it or move away. And
Yeah.
what I find funny is, we say it's not personal, but as you say, it's all coming from one person. And I think the result is you end up pretending to be something you're not, because people are expecting you to behave in a certain way at work, in business environment, in business decisions, and at home people are expecting you to be a certain way. And I love what you said right now. It all begins with me, how my relationship is with me. If
Yeah.
my relationship with me is trying to maintain two different personas, live two different lives, that's the relationship I'm going to spread everywhere else, right?
Yep, it is. And it's again, I might be able to maintain that, but on the long term, if you're thinking about it, it can be quite exhausting. And I think we've seen that it doesn't work long term. And this is where I find, you know, okay, there are rules of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in terms of behavior in one environment or another, right? I mean, I'm not going to go, yeah, okay, I'm not going to go to a concert and start screaming from the top of my lungs because I just feel like it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actually understanding more of what makes us ourselves, who we are, what we like about the way that we behave, what we don't like about the way that we behave in different kinds of settings, in different kinds of situations, and bring more of who we are in that situation, of course, following the common sense rules of behaving in that environment, right? I mean, yeah, okay, maybe I won't show up in Sebastian's show wearing pajamas. Yeah, okay, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I will next time if we're doing a pajama party. So, yeah, okay, you have to know the rules, but that doesn't mean that the rules become you. The rules are there to serve you, to serve the way that we interact with each other. It's not, and this is another thing that we're seeing, especially with the Great Resignation, where we have those processes in place and we think we can't do something, we can't change something because that's the way we've always done it and that's the process. And the way that people are starting to think is actually ask a question, well, who does that process serve? Is it serving anyone anymore? Or do we just have a process on a wall that makes us all miserable, but we're not talking about it?
And there are so many processes like that. Everybody's following the process. Everybody's following this red tape that's has to be. I'm sorry, my dog hair just came in my mouth. This is all.
Talk about personal.
Talk about personal live show and a dog hair in my mouth. That's perfect example. I can't control that, but so much of the pressure on pretense is there, in we're constantly forcing ourselves to be something we're not. And I'm losing my chain of thought now because my dog really made it personal. What were we talking about? I lost my chain of thought. What were you saying? And
So we
I
were talking about the Great Resignation, about processes, a lot of
Yes,
processes in
processes.
place.
There you go. See, thank you, dog. Thank you, chocolate. Okay, so we have all these processes, we have all these rules to follow, all these guidelines to do. But if you look at it, so many of them don't make sense. Somebody somewhere introduced that, and everybody's now copying the process. But the thing is the same process working for everybody? Is the same process practical for everybody? And especially now that we live in a world where people are working from home, people are working different ways, can the same process be practical for everyone? I don't think so. And but we are so hell bent on processes, 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 that we are not focusing on the result. We are not focusing on making it effective, right? So
Exactly. We're
how do
not
we get
focusing
out of that
on,
mindset?
I mean, and it's exactly what you said. I mean, we're focusing on the process for the sake of, focusing on the process. But who is making that process successful? Like, who implements what the process says needs to be implemented, and what are we doing it for? Who's going to benefit from that? And
That's it.
what's going to be the benefit of that? And what if we changed? What if we tweaked the process? What if that improves what we're doing by 10 times, by 100 times? You don't know if you don't try. So I think a lot of a lot of that kind of change is going on. And of course, there will be organizations where that process can be tweaked faster, organizations where it takes a little bit longer. But I think what we've seen and what we've experienced, look at how we used to work going in an office, and a lot of us started to be virtual basically overnight. So I think we forget our power of adaptability and how creative we are when it comes to, okay, Houston, we have a problem, what are we going to do about it? And then
Correct.
if you ask that question, and you will have 100 ideas from people of how you can get out of that situation. And I think we had stopped asking questions, and I think we started, right now we're asking more questions that are good questions.
Well, talking about the questions, I have two questions for you from the audience. I
Awesome.
believe this is Cicely Simpson, if I'm not wrong. Cicely, do let me know if this is your question. She's asking, what is your advice for someone who's struggling to find their place in this time of change and the great resignation? That's a great question.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Yes. And I think, again, it starts with, um, do a check-in and see, okay, what do I want? Like, what do I see myself doing for the next 5, 10 years? Where do I see myself growing? And you can take all of your, one of the things that I had to do when I started a business and coming from the employee mindset is I had to think about my values and my purpose and my mission. And I really think that's such a great exercise for anyone to do. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to be a business owner, but just sit down with yourself and just go through what are my values, your top values. Maybe you have a top 10, maybe you have a top 5, doesn't matter. But just think about what your values are, what you feel your mission is. What would you
Absolutely.
identify with? And then look for jobs that align with that, because that's what will give you the right questions that you're going to ask your maybe future employer, because that's an interview, so that's a two-way street. You need your questions, you
Absolutely.
need good questions. So
Absolutely.
start there. Again, start with yourself.
That's what people are beginning to realize now. I think that is what great resignation is coming from. People are starting to question, well, why am I doing this? If I could have done all this, whatever work I'm doing from home, why didn't I do it all these years? Why am I not happy? Now I'm living my life with my family as well. Same employer who wasn't allowing me to work even one day from home. Now he's allowing me to work forever. What changed? And as you said, there's a principles conflict, the values conflict. And I think the biggest thing that is happening, and I personally have experienced this, is during this change we have started asking, where am I going?
Hmm.
Why am I doing this? Whatever I'm doing, why am I doing it? What is the reason? Because a lot of us are living in a default mode. We're supposed to have a job, we're supposed to have a career, but am I happy with that career? Am I really content? Am I excited to wake up and go, oh, yay, I want to be at work, Or am I just like forcing myself? And that's a lot of people right now, forcing yourself to go to work. And I think that's where the great resignation is coming from. Great question, Cicely. She just confirmed, yes, it's my question. Great
Yeah.
question. Cicely. I love that. And then Dr. Patty Talbot says, so sorry to be late. Glad I hope, believe I can watch the replays. Patty, you might have to pay me $1 million, but this time it's free. You can watch the replay on any of the social media. And Pamela Hartnell asks, how do you think history will remember the Great Resignation? Whoa, that's a loaded question.
Oh, love that. I don't know. And I think, there are terms that started to come to the surface, like the Great Reset. I think that's a wonderful reframe for the Great Resignation, because it's not about the resignation. It's not like I'm not going to do anything for the rest of my life. Or I don't know, maybe those who charge $1 million for a replay, maybe they can do that. But it's
Exactly.
not about, it's not about the Great Resignation just for the sake of resigning. It's a great reset, great reprioritization. It's a complete shift of purpose and priorities. And maybe, you know what, I always say, like, also go interview and see what other companies are all about and talk to more people, and maybe that will get you to the conclusion, like, you know what, my company is actually doing pretty well. Because what we forget is that maybe I've been in this role right here for a long time, but then maybe there's another role for me in the same company. I don't necessarily have to leave that company, but because I've been there for a long time, I kind of, and we know how it works, we kind of underappreciate those who are closest to us. And it's
Right.
the same way in which we say, companies don't really appreciate the people who already work for them. They're looking for talent from outside, but maybe they have brilliant people that they forgot all about inside.
That's,
And it's the
I,
same thing. I think the power is shifting, and I can look at my company and see, well, hang on, and are they appreciating me, and am I appreciating them? And let's see what's out there, because maybe it's not the way I imagined, but I need to do my research and I need to check before I go.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to do a little plug for Pamela Hartnell here because you used the term great reset. and her brand is all about reset your life. So, that's exactly what it is. People are now starting to reset because they're starting to think about, hang on, why am I doing this? Hang on, why am I in this role? Why could I not get another opportunity, as you said, within the same organization, which is more of my interest? Maybe I don't have the skill and I can learn, but I am interested and I am very confident. Or if my company is not giving me this opportunity, where else can I go? Of course, all our lives, we do job changes, we shift from one job to another and all that. That's what the career progress is. But I think now the angle is changing and becoming more intentional about why. People are trying to understand their why around everything. And the closer and the more clear you get about your why, the more it makes sense to take action, as you said, the great reset. Stop what you're doing, stop living in the default mode, and think, okay, if I have to draw the canvas again, what am I going to do? What colors am I going to use? And I love that you're all colorful today. So it's all about really finding the true colors for yourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's, you said it, and I'm going to plug into your brand, intentional. I think that's a very good word for the great resignation. It's going to be intentional work.
Absolutely. It has to be, that's what I realized in my life, that I've been doing everything intentionally, but there are things that I'm doing default, and that's why we literally reshifted the whole brand to call it intentional. And
Yeah.
Patty is saying definitely worth $1 million. Thank you, Patty. I'll send you my account details. And Pamela has another question. What lessons do you think we can learn from the Great Resignation? Whoa, loaded questions,
Whoa,
Pam.
whoa, I love that. Yes, bring them on. Uh, well,
That's a
um,
good one.
well, nothing is, I think one of the lessons, at least for me, is that never say never. And that is pretty big, especially when you talk to the big corporate world, that seems as if it's very, very difficult to move and to change. But when change just comes on top of everything, um, they can actually adapt pretty quickly. And again, I think one of the lessons is how fast we can actually make change happen and adapt to change, and how creative we can be around change. Because if it wasn't for productivity, I think there's two things that saved us from the pandemic. One is creativity, the other one is science. And we don't talk about them together most of the time, but they pretty much worked together all throughout this crisis, no matter how you look at it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think we forget that creativity is not just about painting and singing, although that was a very big part of it because it helped us survive. But creativity in how can we adapt, how can we make it work, what do we do, and how do we do it, because things changed completely.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that we need to focus on is, as you were saying very in the beginning, we need to start asking questions. We need to start asking the what's and the why and the hows, and well, who can do this? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I not happy? What change do I need, and why do I need that change? It is all about change. The biggest thing is we get so scared about change. Oh, crap! I can't. As you were saying, we're scared to talk to our bosses. Well, I need this change, or we're scared of changing the jobs because, well, how am I going to manage? But change, there's one thing that comes to my mind. I can't remember the exact quote, but it is about, it's rather you try than live in regret, because
Mhm.
if you don't try, you're not going to find out what could have been, right?
Yeah. And we're changing anyway. I mean, change is, things are not going to be the same.
They're never the
And
same. That's
like,
the
they're
only
never the same from one day
constant.
to the next, right? I
Exactly.
mean, they're not the same. The question is, how are they not going to be the same? How are we changing? It's not whether or not we are changing. Are we changing? Yes, we are. We're growing. That's part of that's a big change
I
as
love
well.
that.
And one
Absolutely.
of the questions that we maybe started asking more of is also, why not? Why
Absolutely.
not?
Why
That's
not?
that's
Absolutely.
that's such a beautiful, powerful question to ask. And I think, given that, because some people will ask the why, some people will ask the why nots, the what's, the how's, the how much. All of these are good questions to ask, but
I think
just
it is
don't sit with the
all
status
about,
quo.
exactly. I think it is all about challenging the status quo of life, of ways, of rules, of guidelines, in asking, okay, what can we do different? What can we do better? Maybe we are not doing everything as good as we could have done. Um, okay, Dr. Patty says, I love your emphasis on intention in everything you do, Sebastian, and sounds like you too, Roxana. Absolutely. And look, I'm going to say it here, here's a little plug for Roxana, you as well. You've been really monumental in my own change by making me realize, how I struggle. And I was like, crap, I do need to run my shows. I do need to run my business, but I'm going through with all this in trying to create this business persona and my personal life, and it wasn't working. And you came in my life, and like, it's all personal. It is not there. There's nothing that's, you can't segregate. You can pretend you're segregating. You can try and make it compartmentalize it, but you're the same person. You're the same human, and you're the one who's dealing with everything. So why not realize that it's all personal? And that's the day when I was like, you know what? That's it. I've just got to be me. I don't need to have two Sebastians running the life, right?
Yeah, that's pretty complicated.
Way, way, way complicated. Patty is saying creativity and science are definitely partners in problem solving at all levels. But I appreciate you highlighting the importance of engaging them simultaneously, because you're right, they are often thought as a separate system. Perfect.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
here's another question. What are the biggest changes you think we'll see now? Ooh,
Well, we're
loaded
seeing them
question.
already, right? I mean, and it's just, I think more and more it's going to be a matter of choice, especially when it comes to work. I don't see that. I mean, I'm a mom of two Gen Zs. I don't see them working for the same employer for a long time, or for one employer.
Yeah.
I would see people more engaged in working in different projects with different countries. I think we're getting there. We're starting to put in the framework. We don't have a framework for a lot of things that are happening right now, but we're making room for that. I think we realized there are some. I mean, yes, there are going to be challenges if you're in the US and you want to work with people in Australia or in Europe or in Africa. It doesn't matter, but there's a way to make it work depending on how you want to do things, what you're all about as a company, how do you see your team working, and what does that mean for your clients and your customers, right? So there's going to be a lot of change in, and this is what I think we're seeing that already. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a one size fits all. That is for sure. We don't have it
Absolutely.
anymore.
I think one bigger thing also changing is there was this trend or this kind of default lifestyle where what do you do in your job? Everybody kind of had a set career and they kind of just progressed in that career. Now people are experimenting with different career options. They're
Yeah.
becoming more creative about what they can do. They're not necessarily doing what they studied for. You know, Often when people ask me, what do you do? It's hard to explain because there are so many different things that I do, and they have nothing to do with my education. You know, I started to do something else and I'm doing something else, and all my jobs have been different. And I think that's where the world is going towards now. Um, Everybody's finding their real passion, their real needs, their real why, and they're moving towards that. Um, let's see. That's it. Okay. Now I actually have to make a little announcement for people. So, guys, if anybody who's tuned in, um, Roxana is going to do a little presentation. But before we do that, can you tell us what the presentation is about?
Okay, so it has to do with public speaking. but not just with public speaking. So a lot to do with what we talked about, what we just talked about today, how about mindsetting and about how we can prepare ourselves before those important meetings where we want to make an impact and not focus on the others, but focus on ourselves first.
Awesome. So if you're ready to do that, let's bring that on.
Yeah,
All right. I will leave and I'll give you the stage.
awesome. Okay, so what I see a lot, and especially when we talk about public speaking, um, that we're afraid not of the presentation or the speaking itself. We're generally afraid of being judged. We're afraid of public judgment, not of public speaking in general. And as we were talking in today's show, it's all about how we manage our relationship with ourselves so that we can then manage the relationship with others. Because what we tend to do is go and start the other way around, start from the end, start with focusing on what my relationship with others is and how I can manage that successfully. And I don't even look at what are my actions and reactions and what's my behavior and what am I thinking that might be affecting my relationship with them. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give it's almost like the crash course on how you can set your mind in a way that is more helpful for you. And to me, mindset is a verb, not a noun. We use it as a noun, typically, forgetting that actually we're setting our mind one way or another, no matter what we do. So it's all about mind setting as a verb. And I'm going to share one theory that I heard about. One of my sons is an actor, so I'm really passionate about everything that has to do with acting. And Rudy Shelley is one of the greatest acting teachers, and he worked with a lot of stars like Olivia Colman and Jeremy Irons, and a lot of brilliant actors. And what he was saying, his theory was, well, when you're in an emotional scene, don't go for the emotion, go for the thought that triggers the emotion, because that will trigger the behavior and that will give you the result. And that feeds back to what you're thinking in that moment and for that scene. So a lot of what we do when imagine that you have a big presentation in front of your clients or stakeholders, or maybe you have a speech on a stage, but not just on a stage. Like we do a lot of public speaking every day in our virtual meetings, in calls, in client meetings, in negotiations, in interviews. That's public speaking as well. Smaller scale, still public speaking. And here's what we do to ourselves typically when we think that, for example, when I present, I'm afraid to be exposed to judgment and ridicule. Well, when that is the thought, how does that make you feel right now? Maybe not so good, I'm thinking. And usually it makes us feel fear, right? So when we're afraid, what do we get? Well, our throat gets tight. That's the high-pitched voice, and we cannot breathe properly. Our hearts beat faster, and we don't express our opinion clearly. Because why? We didn't want to be there in the first place, because I was afraid of being exposed. I was afraid of being judged. And I feel like I lose control of the situation. So that's the behavior that happens because I'm afraid. And what do I get in terms of results? Well, it seems like people attack my position, that they question my logic, and that my ideas don't matter. And it gets worse because this is how our brain works. When we feel that my ideas don't matter, or like we feel under attack, we feel like we don't matter. I don't matter. And when that is the result that I get, guess what? I'm going to feed back in my train of thoughts for the next time that I'm in a situation like that. I'm going to say, well, see, I told you, whenever I present, I'm being exposed to judgment and ridicule, right? That's it. It's a vicious loop, which we can actually break because, hey, we're the masters of what we think. Again, what am I thinking? That's a good question. What am I thinking? That gives me that feeling, that gives me that behavior. And then when I change the thought to get a different emotion, that is mind setting. That's when I set my mind differently. And an example is for today's session. When I present, I share valuable information that people will appreciate. How does that make you feel? It's valuable. People will appreciate it. So the least I feel is a little bit better, hopefully some excitement. I'm curious about how they will react. I'm happy to share that information. And the least that I want to do is not share it. I want to be there. I want to be there to share that valuable information. And when I think that and I feel that, the energy is different. So that is going to be visible in my behavior, in what I do and what I say. So yes, my heart probably will still beat faster because I'm excited about it, but it's for a different reason, and I will prepare better. I will want to share the information. My body language is going to be better. My voice is going to sound better. And I'm going to want to make it a valuable conversation for everybody. And that's when what I get is that people are curious. And yes, maybe they want to ask questions, which I'm not going to think that are an attack to my position. I'm going to be happy to have a conversation with them or to make some sort of research even further. And that's when I feel I matter because it's valuable. What I just shared was a valuable exchange. And then, of course, that will feed back to myself for next time. Oh, see, when I present, I can share some valuable information and people actually appreciate that. It's all about perspectives. And whenever you're in a public speaking role, you're the one doing the speaking. Think about, what do you expect to get from people who you see presenting? What do you expect when you're in the audience? And most of the time, we don't think about the speaker. We appreciate the story. We connect with the story. We resonate with that. I'm not gonna care too much about the speaker and their person. I'm gonna care about the story. So if you are the speaker, care about the story. And if the story that you're about to share is making you happy and excited and joyful, and really, if you're interested in your own story that you're sharing, chances are your audience is going to be interested as well. If your own story is boring for you, if you don't want to be there in the first place, how do you think the audience will feel? Okay, and now you might say, yeah, well, Roxana, fine. We changed the thought, we changed the emotion, and then we changed the behavior. What if I can't change the thought? There's a remedy for that, for whenever you cannot change the thought because you're sad, because you're anxious right before the presentation. And that happens, right? And when we're sad, when we're stressed, when we're anxious, Our body language shows it. You can say like we're definitely looking down and we want to disappear. It's like in these low power poses. Look at all of these people. They're called low power poses because everything goes down. We don't make eye contact. We don't want to use body language. We're just running and hiding. And all of these express our own need of protection or defense or emotions like shame or embarrassment or lack of confidence. And our bodies don't lie. What we perceive, what we see, we're gonna believe. If I'm in the audience and I see you presenting from this posture, by the way, of course I'm gonna believe what I see over what you're telling me. Because if you're telling me I'm so happy to be here today, in this voice, in this body language, I'm not gonna believe that. What high power poses do is they actually literally change our perspective because we're not looking down, we're looking up. Our bodies look more relaxed and confident and in control and powerful and more balanced. And when I'm in a posture like these, it's almost impossible for me not to feel the energy that comes with this physiology. And there's a very, very tight connection between physiology and psychology. Because in low power, whenever we are in those low power postures, that's what we do. We freeze and we don't want to be seen or heard. We're trying to hide and we're trying to cut communication because that's not serving. What we want to do in those instances is just keep the survival mechanisms in place. I want to still be able to breathe and I want to survive that situation. That to me seems like life and death. Whereas in high power, we get a more assertive response and we want to be seen, we want to be heard. So what do? We use our voice properly, we use our body language properly, and that helps us maximize our impact because we're taking our space. We're not hiding anymore, we're not looking down, we're looking up, and we're taking our space. So one of the things that you want to do as a warm up before those important meetings, important conversations, especially when your energy is low, practice some power poses before. And this one right here is huge because that's the victory. And that gives you, if you do it right now, you feel a different level of energy. When you smile, you feel a different level of energy. It gives you a boost that keeps you engaged. And it's not about the others, it's about you first. It's to help you be engaged, get that boost of energy, get that boost of confidence, and feel ready to share your message. It's all about the message, it's nothing else. All around that. And I can talk about this forever because this is one of the places that I've come from. Very, very shy as a kid, very introverted as an adult, and I do a bunch of public speaking. And one of my dreams was actually to do a TEDx talk, which I did. And I know a lot of introverts who are amazing, incredible public speakers. So um, it's all about preparing yourselves. It's all about knowing how to prepare yourselves. And it's all about how you manage that relationship with yourself first. What do you want? What do you want to make happen after your speech or after your presentation or after that meeting, actually? What do you want to make happen after you've just let your boss that you're ready for the next role? Okay, I'm gonna stop here. And Sebastian, I hope you're you're still there.
I'll quickly run and to join back in. That was really awesome. We had lots of comments as well, and I was just watching through everything people were saying. And yes, it does make a lot of sense. And that's actually not very unknown of that. Yes, introverts are actually good speakers. They're excellent
Mhm.
speakers.
Yeah.
Um, Before I, put up others' comments, why do you think introverts actually surprise people with being really good speakers? What is it about them? Because usually, introvert assumption is that they don't want to be seen, and
Ah,
yeah,
that's
so
such a that's such a misconception, actually. And I'll tell you why, because I grew up like that. And that was in communist Romania, and that was after the 1990s, where communism fell, and we actually had access to cable TV and access to MTV, for that matter. And I was such an introverted kid, and I still wanted to be one of those MTV VJs. Like that for me was an
right,
awesome job to have
right,
back then as a teen. I think introverts have so many powerful messages that they want to share. And I think that the more messages they have,
I
the
know as
more
an
they want to share them. It's just they just go. The reason why we keep being surprised about that is because we're not very good listeners, and we don't allow for space for people to actually share those powerful stories. But and that's where you have forums like TED Talks, for example, where people actually pay a ticket to go and listen to people talking about their passions and ideas and about the messages that they want to share. They created a space where people actually have to listen. That's why they go there. And I think we're learning. I think we're learning to listen more and
And I
create
think we
that
have
space.
so many examples out there. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, s- what is it, Steve Jobs. They're all introverts.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not at all social people. They're introverts, and look at them. But when they do deliver with confidence. And I think it's the same thing. They're full of ideas. And I was saying, as an introvert myself, I call myself a trained extroverted introvert. It's the same thing all the time while I'm by myself and I'm trying to avoid all human contact. My There's so many ideas. It's like a if I don't even know how to express everything that I can think of,
See?
right? It's like a verbal diarrhea is not even a word compared to what I think, right? Okay, so I want to take a few comments that came through, and hopefully there are some questions as well. Let's see. So first comment was from me. I just took an opportunity, went to LinkedIn. I actually love that. Go for the thought that triggers the emotion. That's actually a very big one, because
Mhm.
if you understand the thought, why is this happening? It's again goes back to the why. Why is that
Yeah.
change happening? Why is that challenge happening? Um, then High Tech Mother joined in as well, and she says, "Good morning. I agree. We jump into I do not matter mindset, and
Mhm.
things go down in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Absolutely." And she says, "I love that. Changing how you think can change how you work."
Mhm.
And she's saying hi to Hi Pam, hi Patty, hi Cecily. Thank you for being our reception or welcoming person. Pam says mind settings is definitely the key for success. What tips do you have for staying motivated? That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one, because what motivates me doesn't motivate you, and the other way around. We have, like, motivation is internal. It's what we call the intrinsic motivation, and that's where that whole work with ourselves and knowing and understanding what's important for me, and what do I want to get from that situation. And one of the questions that I share with some of the people that I coach is, like, how do you want to feel after that meeting, or after that, whatever it is, after that interview? How do you want to feel? How do you
I
want
love
to
that.
feel?
I love
That's
that.
important. That's, like, really imagine. And it's not, because why it is so important, because those are seconds and minutes of your life that you're not going to get back. And we might go through that, maybe through that presentation for about 10 minutes, wanting to just get out of there and forget that it ever happened. Or I might as well enjoy it, since I'm going to be in that situation. What is it that I can do to make it a valuable experience for me, because we forget, and that's not selfish. That comes with take care of yourself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Absolutely,
That's the part.
absolutely. I can give a totally different example. People used to ask me in some jobs, like, this is such a mundane and boring job. How do you stay happy? How do you stay excited? It is about finding a reason to be happy, finding your why, and finding, how can I make it really entertaining for myself. And
Yeah.
one of the jobs that I did was admin, data entry and everything. And of course, people hated it. My team members, absolutely. I'm sorry, guys, if you're watching, but they hated it. And they're like, "How are you always smiling, and how are you always excited?" I think my technique was finding same thing. I asked the question, what can I do to change this? The first thing I did was I made it a competition with myself. How many forms can I enter in a certain time? And then I would compare myself, and I'd get excited because I'm doing more or less. So, finding the entertainment in that for myself and a reward in that for myself. But enough about
Yeah.
me. There are more comments. JP says, care about the story. Great point. Absolutely. I think if you care about the story, everything changes.
Yeah.
Uh, Augustine says, our bodies never lie. Sorry, joining late. We'll watch
Ooh.
it.
Oh yeah. They never, never lie. Absolutely. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. They
totally.
give us
Body
away. They absolutely give
They
us
give
away.
us away. Absolutely. They tell what we are not saying.
Yeah.
And he's saying that, oh, yeah, totally. Body language says a lot and does a lot about and to our psyche.
Yeah.
And Dr. Patty Talbot says, very helpful to think of the term mindset as a verb. Thank you. And, we're going to talk more about that after this because I love that. I really do. And she says, fellow introvert
Uh,
here. Hi, join the train extroverted introvert
yeah.
club. And Cicely says, love the MTV BJs. Absolutely.
How
And
can you not?
how can you not? Pam is saying hello to high tech mother Santos. So there you go. Well, this was fun, but before we wrap up, I have a question for you. What would you want to change right now in this world that makes people realize or value that it's all personal and they don't need to live two lives? If you had a choice, let's say if you were the president of the world, what would you change?
Oh my gosh, the president of the world. That sounds terrible. Um, I think, I would, actually, I love this question because I was debating this with one of my kids one day. What if we were not working for money? We were working because we wanted to, and we had like working for passion. What if everybody was doing what they wanted to do as their passion, as their work, and feel fulfilled? And what if we had a different reward system other than money? And I know that's pretty impossible right now, but that's one of the things that I think would just give room to so much creativity and to maybe less stress and more collaboration. I think people are just amazing when they can create, and I think we are creators and we can tap into that creativity more than we have.
Absolutely. Pam says, thank you, Roxana. And I
Yeah,
think
thank
that's
you,
it.
Sam.
It's not about competition, it is about collaboration. The more you collaborate, you grow together. There's so much more we can do. And thank you so much, Roxana. I think I
Thank you.
can be here with you for another 3 hours.
Talk
Uh,
about how introverts never talk. Love.
Absolutely. Well, maybe introversion is a all
Maybe.
second
See?
personality. No. Thank you so much. I really had fun, and I look forward to having you on other shows as well. Please take care, and I'll see you in a minute. Please stay in the
Yeah.
green room.
Thank you.
So, guys, that was Roxana Radulescu. I hope that was correct again, Roxana. So, it was great fun. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we are going to have exciting guests all through this season. We are focusing on change. We're focusing on authenticity. So it'll be great fun. Thank you, Patty, for joining. Great program. Thank a lots to think about. Thank you. I appreciate that. And bye bye, Pam. Uh, so once again, guys, keep in mind you are the same person. You cannot live two lives. The more you try to pretend to be somebody else in one place and somebody else in another place, you strip away happiness from your life. You make it exhausting. I love that point Roxana made that it's exhausting, it's tiring to be pretending to be something you're not. And I've been there. I've been there personally. I understand it. And I can assure you, I'm done with it. I can't live a pretentious life. It's way too much. So thank you once again for tuning in. If you haven't seen the entire show, you can go back and watch the replay on YouTube and LinkedIn. It's also on Twitter and Twitch and some other places. And once again, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is your babe Szebastian Onne G, the almost naked CEO, and you'll get it right, get it uh, done. Intention strategist and entrepreneur maker. I'm here because I care and because I give a damn to help you dream big and make it happen intentionally. Until next time, take care. I'll see you soon.